If I am asking somebody, tell me about yourself, I think that is where I really am not prepared about what I should really ask you, rather than I'm trying to hear from you. And when we ask them fundamental questions, they kind of flunk and they also get disappointed and sometimes hurt and concerned also. I always go with fundamentals and then from there I dig deep in the only thing what we are trying to do and what is happening in the market is there are many deemed universities. And from that perspective, India is very, very agile and very, very way forward in the technology or innovation. So we have a great advantage. So believe me, every recession that happens, right, it is for a good because you will have an opportunity to make the best out of you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Weekday Show. I'm your host, Amit Singh, founder and CEO of Weekday, a hiring marketplace where job seekers can 8x their chances of finding their perfect job, and recruiters can supercharge their productivity by accessing the largest database of talent in the country. We have 80% of white-collar workforce of India on our platform. Check out Weekday at weekday.works. Happy to present to you the Weekday Show, where recruitment leaders share actionable insights and answer the most common hiring FAQs, and explore the hiring process from both sides, and dissect real-life interview scenarios. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Weekday Show. I'm your host, Amit Singh, founder and CEO of Weekday. Happy to present to you the Weekday Show, where recruitment leaders share actionable insights and we answer the most common hiring FAQs, explore the hiring process from both sides, which is the interviewee and the interviewer, and dissect real interview scenarios. Our guest for today is Lakshman, who has more than 2 decades of experience in the recruitment space. He is currently the Senior Director of Talent Acquisition at Sutherland, which is one of the largest BPO or digital transformation companies, employing more than 40,000 people globally. And correct if anything is wrong in this. Also, he has worked in a bunch of other leading organizations like Allied Solutions, which we'll talk about in due course of this podcast. So we'll do 3 major segments in today's episode. First is the rapid fire questions, which is fun and fast questions about hiring. The second one is deep dive, where we learn more about Lakshman's recruitment journey and any takeaways that we can take from it. And the third one is hire and pass, where we analyze real life scenarios and what goes on in decision making from the other side of the table, which is from the recruiter side. All right. So Lakshman, let's start with the first section, which is the rapid fire.
Sure.
Okay. So what's the most creative way a candidate has ever tried to stand out from the crowd?
I think one such interesting or creative way is to create the video resume, which is most trending, especially the generations are changing, right? So Gen Z is one such generation who wants to be more vocal, presentable. So what I really feel, which is standing out, is the video resume.
Okay. And is there any specific video resume that you remember that stood out?
Yeah, definitely. I think what also impressed me in the recent time is somebody who is customizing based on the need, like not just dumping the resume, unlike other job seekers, but trying to understand what we are trying to hire and give us a context, like what the individual can add value rather than just applying a job. I think that really stands out when we are trying to hire, because the problem statement is already known and these individual has already made effort to understand about us, maybe in Glassdoor or maybe in the news or what is happening. So this person is trying to fit into the organization rather than positioning about what we have advertised. He's trying to portray what value he or she can bring to the table. I think that is where it really adds value when we are trying to present ourselves, especially in the video resume. You get a chance to quickly summarize what you have.
All right. So another tip from Lakshman, do video resumes. That always stands out. All right. Going to that, the next one, what's the most useless skill listed on a resume that you've ever seen?
So I would not say useless skills, but some of the pointers which really candidates put is like, I'm responsible, I'm accountable, or maybe I'm committed. So these are some of the things. Again, it stands well, but again, it doesn't add value. What is it you're trying to be committed to, or what is it you're responsible? And somebody says that I can do a good multitasking. So you need to be really vocal about what is the value you can bring to the table. And definitely make an essence of what is it you're trying to put in the resume, not just putting the jargons of I'm responsible. That is a very big word. Unless you're responsible, why will I really rehire you? So these are some of the words which we really feel these are outdated. I would not say useless, but these are definitely outdated.
Yeah. Like I'll add like a few other words to that list, like determined, hardworking, passionate.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's I always see that in the like the first when you have like an about yourself as a section. That's the first thing that comes up. All right. So, and coming from the other side, like what interview question do you find the most overrated, and what would you ask instead?
I think first thing which we should start or change the pattern is tell me about yourself. This is something which is again a very legacy way of interviewing. If I am asking somebody tell me about yourself, I think that is where I really am not prepared about what I should really ask you, rather than I'm trying to hear from you. If I was the interviewer, I first try to understand what is the context of the resume. And from there, I'll already have my pointers, what I should really ask the individual. I think this is something which we should come out of it. And you should, as an individual, prepare for the interview, whoever is interviewing, and then from the summary of the resume, go back and really ask, hey, from this set of quick pointers I have an interesting question to ask. So can you help me understand a little more about this? I think that way of behavioral pattern which we try to bring, I think we really call this concept as STAR: situation, task, action, result oriented. This is where we should really interview.
Sorry, could you repeat that framework again?
STAR, 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 situation, task, action, result oriented.
Okay.
So the questionnaire sits on these 4 parameters. So I will not ask my set of questions. Rather, I hear your story. It's like a storytelling. I hear your story. And from there, I keep asking more questions based upon your responses. So if your responses are crisp and clear, it will not permit me to answer more. But if you try to bull around and you want to blabber about a point which you're not aware, then I think we are welcoming for more questions.
Okay. So moving on to the next rapid fire question. What's the biggest interview red flag that you have ever encountered, besides the general red flag ones, which you think?
There are many. In fact, in the recent time, 2022, right? Especially with this moonlighting and people doing impersonification.
Yeah.
There was a case, I don't want to mention the company name owing to the sensitivity which I worked. But there was a case which was a hard pressing position for us, which was aging for more than 60 days. And we had a huge pressure to close that position. There was a billing revenue loss on that. And when it came to me after 2 levels of technical interview, I was supposed to do the HR interview. Somewhere in the heart of mine, I felt that this guy was a fake candidate. But if I see the feedback, webcam interviews, everything was going very well. So I asked this question. I was trying to understand, evaluate it. So somewhere it triggered in mind, okay, where is your office? I asked first question. She was trying to Google and figure out the office. And she said Bangalore, Whitefield and something. And then somewhere she managed to get, or somebody was trying to help her. And then I asked, where is your bank account? She mentioned her bank account. I asked her, out of my ignorance, is it a savings account or a current account? She said, it's a current account. I said, why will somebody give you a current account? So then I poked in, and then I figured out that she was not the original employee. Somebody managed to get her experience. So that's when she managed to get through the process. So we called her to the office later on as a benefit of doubt, and we figured out that she's a fake candidate.
Like, what led you to think that she might be impersonating? Was there something?
So usually as a recruiter, what I do is I never go with the feedbacks or the resume. What really catches my attention is the projects, clients, and the responsibilities. And I am coming from a psychology background. I understand what the other person really thinks, he or she. I can read out up to some extent with the subjects I have studied. So first thing is I look at the confidence and the kind of exposure. Somebody who is a pattern, right? Somebody who says, I'm working as a contractor from last 4 years. Why will somebody work for 4 years as a contractor? You would have worked for 1 year or 2 years. Somewhere in your course of journey, you should either got absorbed or maybe you would have spin out. Something would have happened, right? So that is the first trigger. And somebody is claiming a very big company project and the company size he or she is working is very small. I'll try to correlate whether this person, like if somebody says SAP, I'm doing a managed service, or Oracle, I'm looking at the background of the company, whether this person, what he is claiming, the company has the real capability to the Oracle services or SAP services with it. So that will help me to create some story when I'm trying to ask questions. And depending upon the mood of mine as well as the candidate, these questions will also fluctuate. It's not that I only ask these questions. thankfully, all this journey, the managers were so cooperative and they understand and they really give us an opportunity to evaluate more and more in that perspective.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So moving on to the next one. Have you ever had a strong candidate completely bomb a simple question?
Yeah, I think some of them come with, I would not say overconfidence, but they're very confident when they come and they feel that other person doesn't know and they get carried away with, we call it as stereotyping, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they tend to judge. And when we ask them fundamental questions, they kind of flunk and they also get disappointed and sometimes hurt and concerned also.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give one simple example. In the recent time, I was asking a candidate on, I was interviewing a recruitment manager for my own team.
Mm-hmm.
And he was kind of coming from a very good company, had that background, but I was feeling that he was not on the ground because he was only trying to bull around.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked him one quick, simple question. What is your cost per hire?
Yeah.
So his answer was 3 lakhs. 3 lakhs or 4 lakhs he was telling as average salary I'm paying. I'm saying that was not what I'm trying to ask you. I'm saying what is your average cost per hire? So then I digged in a little more detail.
Mm-hmm.
I asked him what is the cost per hire, are you aware of it and how do you calculate that? Then he was telling me that I don't deal with that. My manager deals with the cost per hire. And I'm trying to hire you as a manager. So he was trying to take the situation out of it, but he's not sure of the fundamentals. Yeah. So that is where I get feeling that not the company, what you represent, but what breadth you can add value. I think that is more important. So that's where I always go with fundamentals. And then from there, I dig deep in that.
Yeah, I think it also comes from the point that like interviewee would also always want to look confident. So there is always a thin line between like overconfidence and being confident. So and like everyone who's coming to interview would like to show up as that, and then somehow it spills over.
Yeah. And from my perspective, what I always really believe and practice is I want to be a good listener, because if I listen, I tend to learn what I'm not aware. Yeah. If I speak, I will only speak what I'm aware of it. So that's where is an interview platform to be heard. I will always be in a elimination mode. Mm-hmm. I never go with the interview to select a person. I will try my best ways, like how I should reject this person. That way, when I'm trying to do an analysis, right, it gives me what are the strong USPs and what is the value he or she can bring to the table. And parallelly, what are the opportunities for improvement? Mm-hmm. And anytime when we interview, especially in the companies I work with, I never look at for the position. I look at the scalability, where this person can be in the journey of 2 to 3 years from now, and how that individual has the agility and adaptability to grow along with the organization. Mm-hmm. I think that is where we have been successful as a leader from last 20 years.
So like just a follow-up to that. So whenever you're like, for example, interviewing, you're looking, every question would be in the process of elimination.
I would not say process question as elimination, but I say there's some interview errors that happens, right? It's a kind of a stereotyping. Yeah. The moment somebody sees a good academia or a good college or a good company, they go with the notion that this person is a great stalwart and he can make an impact. So I never go with the perception. Okay. I come with an open mind and I'll see what are the possible ways. If I had a chance, I would reject this candidate, but doesn't mean that I reject the candidate. Yeah. But I'll try my best means to see what all possible ways I can really evaluate this candidate.
Got it. Yeah. That completely makes sense. And with that thought, let's go into our next section, which is the deep dive section, where we'll talk a little bit more about your journey. And starting with that, let's talk a little bit about your journey post your MBA and the different organizations like Prolifix, Allied Solutions, and now Sutherland. Like how different were each of these tenures, and like how your journey, like what you into HR as well, please. Yeah.
Sure. I did never had HR was never my choice. It was my choice when I started my career. I came with an inspiration of one of my senior who is an entrepreneur now. Yeah. He taught me the basics of HR during my college days, and that is the motivation for me to land into HR, especially towards the recruitment. And during my MBA days, the third semester itself, I already acquired a job and I'm all set to come out of my MBA. Yeah. I was more focused on the job rather than my MBA, to be very honest. So the first startup which I joined, it was not a startup, but it was a company which is into services. We were doing GIS services and we were into staffing as well. So I had a chance to do the people consulting group, and I was doing the hiring for India and Singapore market. And from there, I spent close to 1.5 years. And during that stint, I was doing the core recruitment. There was no Naukri at that time also. It was only Jobs Ahead, which was a baby portal at that time. And most of the hiring we used to do was through Times as and hunting. We used to really do. I'll also throw some light about how our journey went. And from there, I worked for 1.5 years. And then I joined a company called Semantic Space. It is now Prolifix. I spent close to 7.5 years there. And in that span of time, I was part of enterprise solutions hiring. I built ERP hiring, predominantly the capability for Microsoft Dynamics, which is a Microsoft ERP. And then I also worked for one of the world's largest bank as an account manager through Prolifix, where I was also, beside my recruitment team, I was also doing the account manager. I was sitting in the client place working for the teams, setting up the teams, and I was instrumental in setting up the offices in Hyderabad and Chennai. And from there, after that, as a part of my career aspirations, I have joined a company called NGA Human Resources, which is now Allied. So NGA has been acquired by Allied. So again, NGA is a payroll company. We are one of the leaders in the UK market, and it got acquired by US company Allied about 4 years back or 5 years back. And in that complete journey, I had a chance to lead teams in India. And then as I grown, I transformed into a APAC leader where I led Japan, China, Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, Indonesia. So all these countries I was managing sitting in India, and had teams across the globe. And after that, I joined a company called Innova Solutions. Again, Innova is one of the services company. And in between Semantic Space or Prolifix to Innova, this Allied 9 years was a kind of a different exposure because we are not a services company. We were into our core product. At the same time, we had a very bit of services, but otherwise, we are a very strong product company. We had our own products. So I was also handling the product engineering side as well. And Innova, again, it had a different experience. I was managing the verticals like communication, media, and telecom, and healthcare. So these are some of the customers verticals which I used to handle. And I had teams across India. And last year is when I joined Sutherland. And in Sutherland, currently, I am heading the talent acquisition for digital engineering business. So we deal with a lot of technology hiring, not the BPO ones. So all the technology hiring and healthcare services towards technology is also with us. And overall, as a company, we are 75,000 plus people spread across in 100 plus countries. And within India, offices in Chennai, Bangalore, and we have offices in Kochi as well. And there are some small satellite offices which we have across the board. And majority of them also have a flexibility to work remotely as well. So as an organization, we are growing rapidly. Our digital engineering business itself has a target to grow 1 billion in next 4 years from now. So we are aspiring big, and now we have a great help from Sutherland, which has grown both organically and through acquisitions in the digital space. And I lead in the current role both India as well as USA.
Okay. And let's talk a little bit more about Sutherland, and within that, how exactly does talent acquisition function happen? Like, for example, whenever there's a job posting, or let's say you've thought of that, okay, this is the role that needs to be filled. What exactly happens after that?
Yeah. So in Sutherland, predominantly there are various modes or types we work with. So to keep it in a nutshell, what we do really is we hire contingent workforce to manage our just-in-time hiring needs, as well as we have some specific project-related hiring. So that is when we collaborate with our partners. And we also have some of the preferred suppliers who actually help us in managing these needs. And we also do some strategic partnership, especially on the core competencies and the capability like Oracle or Microsoft or all these skills which are in the ERP space. So second one is the campus recruitment hiring. We travel across the pan India and we do the campus hiring. And your lateral hiring. So lateral hiring, we do multiple channels like LinkedIn is one platform we have. We have Naukri, we have employee referral. And we also collaborate with some of the finishing schools, like where we also get the talent who are kind of enabled on specialization tracks. We also go and pursue them. So there are various ways which we really do in terms of hiring the laterals.
Okay, so we'll talk each of these three ones separately. So I'll first come to the second one, which is campus hiring. Like, does it still happen right now, given this post-pandemic? There's a lot of recession. Is it still happening right now?
Yeah, the campus hiring is still happening. In fact, I have a meeting later in the day where we are discussing about the campus hiring. But again, I want to talk on a broader perspective, not specific to Sutherland. But yes, the speed or the volume which we used to have until, unlike last few years, it might sound little obvious, but the market is going a little slow, and that will also have an adverse impact on the campus hiring. And other thing, in fact, I keep talking on a lot of forums is the not the volume of the students, but the employability of the students, which we really need to create. And that responsibility lies with the placement officers, academia, industry, and all people like you should all collaborate and work together. But as such, I would say, yes, market will be a little slow. We may not hire in the volumes which we used to hire. But yes, the demand for the fresh talent will always be there, because this is the kind of talent which will definitely create a lot of impact in the workforce, because Generation Z comes with the entrepreneurial mindset. And if you're not engaging that mindset in the system, we will come kind of end up being a flat workforce, and we will not leverage ourselves, because when you're not getting the diverse thoughts as an organization, you're not leveraging your innovation.
Yeah. So, like, the reason I ask this is because I end up getting a lot of questions regarding that. Okay, like there's, for example, like the opportunities while recession is incoming, or there's a global hiring slowdown. The biggest section which is impacted are freshers who are.
So I'll tell you the context why that game is changing also, because the US is moving slow, which has a biggest market share in India, right? As a the country's interest rate, or some companies have money, but they don't want to put that money as an investment now. So what they're looking at the pockets is the nearshore or the offshore, right? So the option which we have is possibly India, Philippines, or maybe some of the countries like even Vietnam. So there are multiple options. But if you look at from the geographical perspective, or from the talent perspective, India has no advantage, because we produce the largest number of engineers across the country. So that means we have a good potential opportunity to leverage the software technologies. And if especially cities like Hyderabad, Bangalore, they have a major share in the contribution of the IT software engineers. That is one aspect. And second thing is, again, the volume of people which we get here. So there is an advantage here. But what is happening in the States is like, earlier we used to have a lot of projects that are there, but they are making a cautious investments now. Until unless I have a fixed bid project, or I have a project which is a purely SOW based, I will not be able to engage the entry level talent or the enabled talent which I have in house. If it is happening at a kind of a staffing business, or a head-to-head business, or a time and material, the customer is also involved in this selection process, and the customer is also aware whom we are trying to put into the system. That means it is going on a head-to-head business rather than a project specific. Hey, this is the project I'm giving you. You employ 10 people or 50 people, it's up to you, but I want this project deadline to be completed by this time. So those kind of projects, if we get accessible to the market, I think that is where the opportunity for freshers will increase. And that will also happen. It's not that it's not going to happen, but a small correction is happening in the market, which is for a good. And very slowly in next couple of years, we will see a lot of opportunities. And when it is, the opportunities will come with us, but you should be ready to transform this, your thought process, and grab this opportunity. Like example, technology is changing very fast. And if your syllabus still talks about Pascal, COBOL, all these legacy technologies, then you're not in the race. So you as an individual also should strive hard to upskill yourself. There are many online platforms. I'm surprised and amazed to see even the school kids of 8th to 10th are doing programming. But the same problem, if I see 40, 45 years guys in the system, 20 years working in the same company, there is a resistance to upgrade themselves. So especially the freshers, I think with this young mind and talent, if they're ready to upskill themselves, technology is the game changer, and we are going to invest in a lot of cutting edge technology. Especially we being coming from the BPO background, right? For us, every dollar or rupee makes a very difference, and we will be very, very cost conscious, and we will make our process very effective and productive so that the client or the end customer makes benefit out of it. So we will leverage the best of technology.
So, Lakshman, follow up to that. General, there's an economic slowdown. Do you think, as a result, because there's economic slowdown, there's lesser money going around, so you can't really hire, like for example, US or in the developed markets, you can't really hire from those markets. So, do you think India will benefit more from this? Because so far it doesn't seem like that, right?
So I would not say we will be at loss or will be benefit. Say we have an advantage as a country.
Yeah.
With respect to the platform we have been built as a country, and as a kind of a governance related or the policy related, we have an advantage from the country perspective. We should take the advantage of that. Only thing what we are trying to do and what is happening in the market is there are many deemed universities. Unlike if you take back the story of 10 years back or 15 years back, there were hardly 10, 15 universities, and people used to bind to that university, especially in the South states. We had to go with that syllabus whether we like or not. There was a case in my own classmate who wrote an exam of Pascal for 8 times. He finished his graduation in 5th year and he never cleared Pascal because the Pascal programming was so complex for him, and he had that nightmares. So until that subject was there in the syllabus, he never cracked it. So we need to re-engineer what the demands of the market. I think that flexibility the government universities should have, and especially the private universities or government universities, if they are compatible, we have an advantage. And now I see a lot of transformation happening from the industry and academia collaboration perspective also. There are many universities and colleges who have set up their digital labs in collaboration with the companies. So that means in the 3rd year, starting from the semester 5, they are working hand to hand with the company, and they are also trying to see what is your company need, and we want to incorporate one subject. You also come and teach, and these are the people who are going to be your future employees. So that collaboration really helps, and they're industry ready from day one. And I see many universities who are also giving flexibility from 4-1 itself to come and work. That means I have an advantage not to wait for 8 months, 9 months for it to get on board. Rather, I'm ready. So this kind of flexibility as an university, as a policy related, it is given, we have a great advantage. And from that perspective, India is very, very agile and very, very way forward in the technology or innovation. So we have a great advantage. Only thing is, as an individual, we need to be industry ready. And again, I'm not sure about how the other side of the world is happening, especially in the southern part of the India. There are many engineers which are, and I say there is more supply than the demand. And the demand is such, and the supply is so high that the demand is falling short by 40-50%. And these people are coming for whatever reason in engineering, because of the push from the parents or because of the peer pressure they have from the industry. They're landing in, but they never have the interest in. So we need to create that platform. And I see many finishing schools which are there in the market. I'm not sure how much you're familiar, but there are many finishing schools who are tapping this need of the market. This is a problem statement, right, from the companies. So they're trying that opportunity, and they're also investing, re-engineering, reskilling them, and trying to see and make them industry ready. So from the market perspective, I see land of opportunities. Technologies keep changing. It's only the mindset we need to adopt. About 12 years back or 15 years back, when I was doing my studies, or 20 years back, Java was the king. If you know Java, you can fly anytime. I was doing my graduation in 1999, and I studied in Java in 1999. In that year, at least half a dozen of my own batchmates, which we were part of NIIT, flew just like that because they had a degree. And when I had my degree out, that is when the Y2K started and all the problems in the industry started. So it happens. The technologies keep changing. If you're not having that adaptability, and out of these 100 people who went, only 10 came back. The rest 90 still settled there because they have that hunger in the belly. Like, yes, this is where I have an opportunity. And believe me, every recession that happens, right, it is for a good, because you will have an opportunity to make the best out of you. Because when you have a problem, that is when you come out of your best, right? If things are going good, you as an individual, you get, if everything is routine, you get lazy, right? There's no fun in the life, or you don't have a kick in the life. So you need to have problems for good. And I am sure the kind of governance we have as a country, or the policies we have, India will continue to emerge as a leader.
Are you looking for a job? You can 8x your chances of getting one by using Weekday. How 8x? by doubling the chances on 3 fronts: referrals, customizing your resume, and applying to double the jobs. Weekday can help you on all 3 fronts. Did you know that you can double your chances of getting a job by asking referrals? You can do that via Weekday by just one click, where people can give referrals to the existing companies via the Weekday platform. The second one is customizing your resume for every role. Did you know that 60% of the applicants of a job are never seen by a human recruiter? You can double your chances by customizing your resume based on every job posted. Well, it's not feasible to do that. You can do that via AI. So Weekday's Chrome extension allows you to customize your resume for any job. The third front is applying to double the jobs. Imagine if there was an easy apply on every careers job posted everywhere. What we allow via front-end automations is that you can just click once and no need to fill multiple long forms on every careers page. Give that information to us once and utilize it everywhere else. So coming to the next part of it, which is which is lateral hiring. So what sort of tools, technologies do you end up using as part of like the whole function, how's talent acquisition function?
Yeah. We use quite a few tools. The first basic tool like other organization is your applicant tracking system.
Yep.
So that is where we manage all our talent pipeline, like all the career portals, database, or your so-called Naukri. All these platforms integrate into one ATS. So the ATS which we use is called as Smart Recruiters.
Yeah.
So that is powered by AI, and it's a beautiful platform.
Mm-hmm.
It does a lot of work, and that is integrated to our HRMS platform like Success Factors.
Yeah.
So all these systems talk together, and right from the request initiation till the onboarding, the end-to-end application management or the candidate management happens in this particular platforms like Success Factors and Smart Recruiters. And additionally, we also use platforms like Modern Hire for language assessment, psychometric assessment, behavioral assessment we have. And there is also one more in-house tool for language assessment, because since we are coming from a BPO background, right? So we have communication is our bread and butter. So we make sure that we are getting the right people on the board. So we also keep a language assessment test, and that is on par or equal to the TOEFL assessment.
Okay, got it.
That's the in-house tool.
All right. And so let's say there is an opening. You go on Smart Recruiters, there's a job post that you make. How many applications, let's say, on average would come in? How many would like a recruiter be actually able to see? What happens behind that?
Good question. In fact, I'm not sure how much you're aware of it. There is a interesting fact, or probably I'll ask this question back to you.
Yeah.
Do you know how much time a recruiter will really spend seeing a resume?
So in general, it takes me like around 15 seconds to sort of actually glance through.
15 to 20 seconds is the average time a recruiter really looks at. And in this 15 to 20 seconds is the art of the candidate to showcase what I am really. And now, with all these resumes or your pipeline is moving into ATS, they become even more smart or lazy, I would say, recruiters. So I'll pick up the top 10 because there is a AI or the intelligence build, the algorithm is built in such a way that it shows me like this is the 85% match, this is the 80% match. So there are skills which are defined like must have and to have for this role. Yeah. And when you as a candidate, when you incorporate these skills, it shows me a tentative match. Yeah. Okay, the skill mapping happens at the back end. Mm-hmm. So which are the key skills that are mapped as per the JD that shows me the appropriate percentage. And as a recruiter, everybody for that matter picks up the top 10 or 15. And before even I go and navigate the resume, I have an option to see the highlights or glimpse, like what are the skills or what are the company experience. So I really also tend to see whether I can really open up, because there are some cases where somebody puts all the skills, but there will be nothing in the resume. So we can also not go blindly folded on that, but most of the times we get the match percentage, and that match percentage is what drives it. And again, it depends upon the kind of volume of the skills we are hiring and the kind of skills we categorize basically the hiring needs or talents into volume, niche, and super niche. Okay, volume is your generic skills.
Yeah.
Niche are your advanced skills. Super niche is something very critical skills. So for niche and super niche, we make every attempt and use all channels. For volume, the first thing is we look at putting an employee referral, because that way we'll leverage our internal morale, and we'll also get an opportunity. And in fact, there is a guideline within Sutherland also, like every opportunity before you go to public,
Yeah.
you should try ICP, that is internal career progression. That means are you really giving an opportunity for your in-house employees?
Yeah.
So that way they will get an opportunity to move vertically and horizontal as well. So
Yeah.
it's a good employee engagement activity, and that will give you a good experience within the employees. So we promote ICP first, and parallelly also we look for the market, and based upon that we will figure out which is the best chance we have.
Okay. So, like for example, if I'm an applicant, what can I do to increase my chances of like a recruiter, like a human actually seeing this in my resume? So what can I do to change
I mean,
that?
it's a chance of getting the resume viewed.
Yeah, resume viewed by a recruiter.
Okay. So what happens, in fact, what I keep observing when I also search for market is, first of all, you as an individual should not apply every job that is there in the portal. My perspective, you should have a clear target. What is your talent pool? And you should have a clear mindset. Where do you want to go? And from there, as you start, you should have a contact or connect who can establish, like the platforms like LinkedIn. Suppose if I am in Sutherland, for discussion's sake, I want to go for my target competition. So where is my competition? So as an individual, I need to do that homework from my side. So if the candidate is in Sutherland and he wants to look at opportunity, so maybe if I start looking at from the market, so I got an heads up like VXI is my competitor, which is a similar line of business. So what I start doing is I'll start reaching out to VXI talent acquisition people. I start putting them an ad request or send an email or whatever is the best way.
Yeah.
And that is one way of reaching out to them. Second thing is you need to stand out in the crowd. That will only happen when you customize. So what happens is many of them, if I post in LinkedIn, they apply through LinkedIn. That is not the right way.
Okay.
You will have an email listed out there, or you need to find out email. Most of the times we can find out how that email ID works. You need to pick out that email, take that context of the referral, what I posted, and send customized mail. What I do as an individual, if I post a job, I get 200 applicants. What I do is I pull all of them and move into a folder. And I'll start doing it my freestyle. But if I get a customized mail or a kind of a mail that is exclusively written to me and handwritten, or maybe, and I say handwritten means especially addressed to me, I'll pay that attention of 10-15 seconds.
Yeah.
And if your summary, executive summary or cover summary is able to attract me, suppose I'm hiring a web architect and you start claiming that you are a web architect working with some full stack or Angular or React or JS, if you write that cover story and you tell me that, hey, I have a good extensive BFSI experience and I saw you are hiring a client director in BFSI, so I can add value. So you need to do that homework on the role. Don't blindfoldedly start applying any job. The moment you apply, you are also in one of the rat race. So you can make a difference when you individually start putting a customized cover letter. And this cover letter, again, should not be a standard wedding card where you put for everybody. No. Yeah. You should start paying attention to what is the opportunity, it is there. And if possible, tweak your resume as well, because sometimes what happens is possibly your resume cannot address all the market needs, right?
Yeah.
Suppose somebody says that talent acquisition senior director, I'm looking at somebody who has experience in supporting pre-sales. Why will I put pre-sales in my resume? I would have worked in the past, or I would have done some kind of cold calling or niche skill hiring. It is not practically possible for me to put everything. As I scale up, I only keep what is relevant to my resume.
Yeah.
I would not even put all the hazard things what I have done. So it will be only good if I claim what I have really done. And I should have that. You have your platforms where you configure and customize, right?
Yeah.
Same way, you should be able to customize as per the demands of the customer or the client.
Very interesting, because you never think of it that way, right? Like, for example, there is like a specific time that you have dedicated to applicants that come via LinkedIn, let's say. So you have dedicated like 1 hour to shortlisting that. But if someone actually writes you a mail, it's actually the time that is coming out from another section of your day. and that basically
At least you pay attention, and somebody is the same person is sending a request also. At least you open his profile.
Yeah.
You will take an effort to open his profile, understand, and at least it will trigger your mind for future, if not now. So the effort is made from the talent acquisition person also when you start customizing the email or the cover summary or sending an invite. That's a good practice.
Yeah. Okay, so great. Another pro tip for anyone who's looking out for a job: increase those touch points. For example, what Lakshman mentioned, like mail or on trying to connect on LinkedIn, and be thoughtful in each of these sort of touch points. And it definitely does add up. Like all these small things do add up. All right. So just an extension to that, like, what advice would you have for like other recruiters who are, let's say, starting out their journey, want to sort of excel at this craft of talent acquisition? What advice would you have for them?
Talent acquisition, again, if you see, many of them started taking this as a career. Some of them by choice and some of them by no option, because they would have studied a BTech and they had pressure of getting into jobs. So the easy was to get into talent acquisition. Mm-hmm. To get into talent acquisition, it is very easy. To survive, sustain, and create interest and passion in long run, it is not that easy, because you deal with a lot of uncertainties. You're dealing with a person whom you're not aware of. You're trying to establish a contact. You are the face of the organization, trying to open a conversation and giving that communication and the purpose of the job. And you're trying to sell. It is equivalent to a salesperson whom you're doing in terms of positioning opportunity. So in my view, you should be a good communicator where you. So I think surviving in that platform is not that easy. So you need to continuously invest and re-engineer yourself. So in this 20 years of time, I myself have seen a lot of transformations, and I have many of my people who are in the leadership level at the same time who are still in the managerial. It all depends upon how much are you individually enabling yourself. It's not the only technical guys who learn, who enable, and also you need to network. You need to be staying ahead of the industry sometimes. And also, a lot of times, what happens is many of this hiring happens through contacts and network. Yeah. So you should be a smart networker, and you also need to know where you need to tap the right talent. So for that, as a recruiter, you need to not only know what is talent acquisition all about, but you should also stay connected towards the technology. Also, with the changes in the technology, you should be a real game player in terms of selling the solution. So business or delivery is not looking as a service center for us. We are a solution partner or enabler to the business.
So just another add-on to that, like for example, if someone who wants to get to that leadership position, so for example, someone like you, as you mentioned, like it's very easy, relatively easy to get into talent acquisition. But if someone wants to become like a leader in that space, is networking the number one thing that they should look at, or is there any other aspects as well?
So first thing is you should be very strong in your fundamentals, because business will love to hear us when we talk numbers. And unfortunately, most of the HRs are not good at numbers. But yes, we are changing and we are transforming. When you understand the problem of the business, right, irrespective of whichever role you are the business go-getter. Yeah. First thing. So you should understand numbers when you're aspiring to become a leader, first thing. Second thing is, as a leader, when you want to really see the market, is you need to understand the industry trends and what is the value you can bring to the table. So when you are familiar with what you are able to do and what you can add value, and you have the industry connects, all that you need to do is having the right leadership approach and empower your people and enable your people. That is what I strongly believe. And I'm a leader. Basically, I strongly believe in participating leadership style. And that really helped me out. And I also believe in carrot and stick approach of my motivation. So I'll try to use as much as I can, whichever is successful. And not always you are used to only one approach, but you as a leader should also understand the leadership styles and the critical changes that business is happening. Most importantly, you should not stand for only your people or only for a business. You need to strike a balance between your people and business. So most of them fail because they cannot take the business pressure, or they cannot understand the show of business. The moment you don't understand and you're not in the show of the business, you're losing that value to be in the business shoe. So I strongly say that you should be a business acumen first rate.
Yeah.
You should be good you should be good at having a social network or your professional activities that will help you to understand the industry trends, and you stay up to date. You should be upgraded version always to be in line with what industry is looking at.
All right. Can you also talk a little bit about the community of HR professionals that you have, the Hyderabad HR community?
Yep. So I am part of many communities. In fact, I am one of the co-founder of a community called HyHCF. It is called as Hyderabad Human Capital Forum. It started with two like-minded people, and now we are a group of 600 plus people. And everybody is minimum a manager or a senior manager, and all are from the tier 1 corporate companies. So what we do, or in fact why it has been formed, is to share the thoughts of like-minded people, understand the trends, and we create a lot of opportunities for our own people within the circle, and we share opportunities. We stay up to date in terms of getting the metrics. It's like one more NHRD, or I will not say we're not that big, but in terms of the knowledge or the value we bring to the forum, we do a tremendous job. And we also use that as a first gatekeeper in case if somebody, I want to understand, I'm hiring somebody, I want to do a reference check.
Yeah.
I do put in that group and say, hey, this is what I'm trying to explore. Any lead points for me? Or maybe I'm hiring this role. I actually pick up that first source. So that is one platform for us to really promote our opportunities, cross collaborate, network, check. At the same time, for us, business priority is also important. So if I'm doing business, that doesn't mean that I'll not pull from that particular company. We still do that.
Yeah.
But we have a platform, we network, and we exchange our ideas. So HyHCF is one such platform we have. And other than that, I'm also part of groups like HR Shapers, HRFI, and then we have HRCXO is one more group we have, SHRD. So there are many platforms. So what I really do is I make sure that I attend personally minimum 5 to 6 conferences every month. That is on my leisure time. It could be Saturday, it could be Sunday or weekday. And I also have a great passion towards people. I talk to people, and that came from again through Toastmasters. I did manage that club for 5 years in Allied, and I was the vice president. I was the president. I was the advisor. So we had a great network, and that platform helped us to improve our public speaking skills, and also created a network mindset. Even if I go for a workout in a cult, my thought process is whether I can potentially tap some talent from there. So that way we are framed as a HR.
And do you recommend other aspiring HR professionals also to join such communities? And does that really add value?
Yeah, we do have some open forums and open platforms. So the current group is restricted, but we keep doing webinars. We keep open seminars. In fact, within the Hyderabad city, we have a lot of platforms where we ask people to attend. We ask people to come and meet us, greet us, and keep open forums. So that way they are engaged, especially in all colleges, right? We do visit colleges, and we also sometimes host open webinars so that we go live and we'll ask people for their inquiries and help.
All right. Okay, great, Lakshman. This was great. Let's move on to the next section, which is hire or pass. Okay. In this case, I'll give you scenarios of individuals and situations, and you have to tell whether this is a red flag or a green flag, or hire or a pass. Okay, the first is hire or pass, the job hopper. So candidate who has a history of changing jobs frequently with multiple stints less than 1 year, while the skills and like experience is impressive, but the fact that they have not stayed in one particular company for long, is that a red flag? Is that hire or pass?
So before I get into hire or pass, I think what we'll try to understand is the reason for the gaps. As a recruiter, what we educate people is to understand, evaluate. And when we figure it out, if that is only purely for monetary purpose or some other gains, we would definitely pass on the candidate. And that also shows when I'm also doing the HR interview, one such pointer which will help me to understand the candidate is the stability. And again, I'm not expecting somebody to stay in the company for 10 years or 15 years or 20 years, but rather, what is the value that that person can bring to the table? And I have a very gut feeling like if somebody cannot survive in a company for 2 years, that means when the time to give back, this person is coming out of the system. So possibly either he is not ready or open up for challenges, or maybe he is not performing as per the need of the customer. So I will definitely be in the benefit of doubt, and if I have an option, definitely I would pass.
But do you think, for example, like, which is the normal thing, right? For example, like internal appraisals within a company versus when people switch a company, the ratios are very different. Like, so if you want to earn more,
So one or two jumps happen for a purpose or a reason, but that should not be a trend.
okay,
So that's what I made my statement very clear. I see a pattern. So if the jumps are maybe initial days of career, 2 years or 3 years, and after that he was consistent in the company for 4 years or 5 years, I'll definitely pick that, because that decisions happen because as we transform, right, our needs keep changing as an individual. Maybe in my initial days of career, I was more focused on the money. And as I grow up, I wanted a meaningful work. I want knowledge. I want power. And then as I transform, I wanted a power. And then I want expertise in what I do. So the needs keep changing and your priorities also keep changing. So I cannot conclude based upon that. But at the same time, I'll also see the trend and a pattern. If the pattern is last 3 jobs, he's moving frequently, then that's an alarm for me.
okay, all right. So the next higher up us, the overqualified applicant. So let's say a candidate who has exceeds the job requirements in terms of experience and qualifications. Do you think that potential overqualification is a strength or is it a risk? Is it higher up us?
So there are two ways. Whenever I hire, in fact, I keep telling my team, and also it is applicable for me, is don't look at for the job what we are trying to only hire. See from the organization perspective where this person can really scale up in next 2 to 3 years from now. If the person has the required skills and has the potential to elevate in next 1 2 years, it is fine. Overqualification, again, it is multifolded. Like I'm looking at somebody expected to do a basic coordination job, but I'm trying to hire an SME who has been doing a recruitment for last 7 8 years. That is an overqualification. This guy will not survive. He or she will tend to leave. So that is a risk. So we will need to see what exactly the overqualification in this context, and whether that overqualification really helps me. I'll put it other way. Suppose I'm hiring a full stack development and I have somebody who is also doing AWS and an additional skill.
Yeah.
That is a plus to me. I would love to hire and keep him in my talent pool for future projects. But I'm doing a wrong hire. Maybe I want a software engineer, but I'm hiring a manager and expect him to do a software engineer job. That is a overkill. So to put in a nutshell, overqualification in terms of the additional skills that is required to perform in the same job level, I'm happy to hire. Otherwise, it's a pass.
Another higher up us, social media addict. So someone who has very strong political opinions and post on social media as well. And like, while you don't really go through the social media, but let's say they sent you a connection request, which is basically encouraged, and you see a few of the posts which are slightly political in nature. Is that a risk or is that fine?
Say, as long as you're not offending somebody, as long as your interests are protected, says everybody has a political interest, but I should be mindful of what my organization policy is or what my social media policy of the company, because in our case, we are not supposed to post any financials that will affect the kind of complaints of my company. So we are very clear what to share, what not to share. And your personal platforms like Instagram or Facebook, it is very personal to you. But again, you have seen the latest development in the recent past. Somebody was overboarded and they extended the conversations to the government or the leadership. As long as you're not creating the harmony of spoiling the harmony of the company or the country, nobody will have an objection. You should anything for that matter. If you're doing mindful, that will not be a problem. But if you're creating a platform that will adversely impact the organization credibility, so definitely we will have an impact or we will be impacted. So we very clearly put them on the induction from day one. We will tell them what to do, what not to do. But if the person has a diverse opinions, that's a trigger for me. That is the reason all the psychometric tests are there, right? So that is also an opportunity for us to evaluate, because we have seen many people such that, for that matter, right? During the interview, they are very good at communication, they're very good at technology, but when they come and do on the job, sometimes it is not the same old conversations or the experience we have, we completely feel it's a wrong hire sometimes. So that is when we also see we keep some neutral panel sometimes, somebody on a leadership. So in our case, we keep 3 levels of interview, so 2 technical and 1 managerial or HR. So that way, I'll get to understand the other aspects. It's not just a discussion, but it's a conversation. So I'll tend to understand what are the other prices. So that is definitely not an elimination, I would say. But yes, be mindful of what you post.
Correct. All right. This was great. Last question, which is one advice you would give to job applicants or like people who are looking out for a job, which you would like people would not expect from an HR professional. Like what advice would you give?
Okay. First thing again is stay connected, stay updated. This is my first advice to everybody. And second thing is there's nothing wrong in being in touch with HR. Don't lose the relationship just because you have denied a job. Most of them have feeling that, hey, I declined this job. I'm sure they would have blocked me. They would have kind of marked me do not hire. No, I still remember my first job offer, which I did 20 years back. His name is Kapil Bose. I can still tell. He didn't join me, but I still remember him because the experience what he has given me, I think it's a lifelong journey. And after that, I also helped him in between, and he was in touch with me until last 5-6 years back. So you should not lose the kind of relationship what you have built. When you want to even turn down offer also, you should be very gentle enough to give the person understand why you're turning that offer. Because most of the times this harmony of relationship break when the decline happens. Somebody, especially some of the recruiters get very emotional. Some of the even write on the social media, that's a different story. But I keep telling my recruiters, hey, end of the day, it is his life. He's deciding. So as an individual, when you're a recruiter, you're trying to understand, have you done your checks and balances? Are you able to give what that person needs? So you keep a buffet when you want to eat, right? There are 40 items. Practically, it is not possible for you to eat 40 items. And how will a buffet menu arrive? Based on the trend. They have seen the trend like, okay, 30% of the crowd, what we have, eat this kind of food. So rice is some item which they keep, sambar. So they keep that items because of the consumption they have. They get into a pattern what they do. The same way, as a HR, what I convey is you need to stay connected with the people. And that is more important. Be empathetic. Even if you're not joining also, don't be, because I see people getting back, they block the number, they don't answer the calls. So you can be communicated. I know it will be twofold. It happens with the HR also when they don't give feedback. I'm not denying it, but you can be a little more empathetic and you can turn down the offer. It's your every fundamental right. Only thing is you can be vocal and communicate, because we don't know that karma will always fall back. If that doesn't go well through, if you're going for a new company, you might see the same HR or you might be certain. Because I always, whenever a person is turning down, right, I never have any grudge on any person from the last 20 years. I always tell that this is a decision you're making, which is a good one or which is a bad one. Your doors are always open. Please come back if you're not happy there. So that way, I'm creating an association with them. And as a HR, my first thing is, I have close to 35,000 LinkedIn contacts here. This was built from last few years. Every person whom I create an experience, I start and go and add them. So that way I'm building an association. LinkedIn is such a beautiful platform, right? It helps you to stay connected, and it will also help you on talent pipeline. If I post a job, right, within less than 5-6 hours, I get at least 4-5 resumes for any skills. That's the kind of network I built. The same way for job seekers, even if you're in college, even if you're between the jobs, I want you to build your network. That advice nobody gives you. I'm giving you advice. Please take it up and look for your target companies. It could be from your similar industry, from your similar background, or the kind of skills what you acquired. You need to have that intelligence, how you can bring and add value to your profile. I think that is what the advice I have.
All right. Great. Thank you so much, Lakshman, for this very, very insightful session. We are very lucky to have you on our show. Thank you.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you so much.
Are you struggling to hire talent? At Weekday, we have built a database of 80% of white-collar workforce with their email, phone number, resume, and salary details. And you can send automated email plus WhatsApp plus call sequences to them. Yes, we call candidates on your behalf as well. Because India runs on WhatsApp and calls, we end up getting as high as 40% response rate. Gone are the days of sending a LinkedIn invite and waiting for days for someone to accept. Just use Weekday. Whether you are looking for a database to supercharge the productivity of your recruiters, or you're looking at a complete AI recruiter to do everything for you, we have a solution for you. Visit weekday.works to know more.